This is the guy you've hitched us to at the hip. I mean, he is a fascist, war criminal, fantasist, and you have hitched our country at the hip to him through AUKUS, through your obsequious toadying.
Fantasist, fascist fantasist. This guy is completely unhinged, and he definitely has a major case of derangement, Trump derangement syndrome.
Of the war criminals Trump and Netanyahu and their illegal war. It is humiliating, it's embarrassing, and it's degrading for our country.
You know, I think there is a contingent of people that feel exactly like this person, you know, exactly like this guy, and he's speaking to a lot of the sentiment that is actually happening. However, that sentiment is a little bit, I would say, ill-informed. Trump is definitely doing things that could be laminated as crazy, let's say. And I wouldn't agree with all the wartime efforts that have been happening in recent times. It's a bit murky. It's not black and white as everyone wants to paint these things. Netanyahu, he's a controversial character in his own right, but in the majority of cases around the world, people can agree that the Iranian regime was a troublesome regime that needed to be dealt with in some kind of way. They're dealing with them. Also, they're saying that the derangement from the Trump syndrome, that he wants to create war everywhere. I think it's far more complex than that. I'm not exactly sure, and I would love to hear from a true geopolitics and wartime military specialist, and even economist perhaps, if those three things could come together. What is the strategy that perhaps Trump and his conglomerates are up to? But I do think they want to shake up the world. They want to change the structures that have been causing and plaguing the Western world at this moment. They want to create structures that benefit themselves, their people. I'm not quite sure if all the wars and things like that are for the benefit of those countries and those people. I hope that some benefit comes to them. I hope a lot of benefit comes to them in that case. But this derangement that Trump is just a fascist, wartime, crazy, maniac man is completely baloney. There are deep, I believe there are deep plans to shake up the system in the world. It's hard to identify exactly how those plans roll out, but I think that's what's happening for Trump at this moment.
Mate, you can shut your mouth. You can shut your mouth.
McKim,
People are dying
Senator McKim,
because
resume
of
your
you
seat.
and sociopaths like you.
Senator McKim,
I'm not going to cop interjection.
You know, he sounds like a lot of people that are alive at this moment. People that are overprivileged and they can only believe the crazy madman theories. And he sounds like a Karen, to be fair. People are dying because of people like you. Shut your mouth. All this screaming, this illogical ranting and things like this are far too simple and far too virtual signaling. Oh, I don't think this person really cares, to be fair, about people suffering and dying around the world. If he did, there are many atrocious things that are happening around the world that he could be claiming. I mean, first and foremost, the people in Iran were suffering for 45 years plus. The Somalian genocide, a lot of things happening, all parts. These people only scream when they feel that there is a moment for them to seize upon the attention. And now he's yelling and screaming, but you can see that it's a facade. It's something to seize the moment and to gain some support from people who believe this kind of stuff.
But Jewish Australians won't be safe from the scourge of anti-Semitism until Muslim Australians are safe from the scourge of Islamophobia.
Islamophobia was and still is a word that has been created essentially to blanket Muslims in some kind of protection, which I can't really understand that they're getting. their faith is quite openly hostile towards people that do not share that faith. That is a fact. It's not even something that's arguable. Have there been Muslims traveling to other countries and that are peaceful, that are well-doing for their societies and their communities? Yes. Do I think most Muslims are bad? No. Are there a contingent of Muslims that take their faith to the extreme, or not even the extreme, just to the actuality of it? And are those problematic to the world? Yes, most definitely. So I feel that it's really strange for us to have created this term Islamophobia to protect people that are essentially a problem for Western culture. They don't gel. And so it doesn't really make sense to protect them more than they deserve protection, just as everyone else. They deserve the same protection as we create for everyone else living in that society. Nothing more, nothing less. Everyone can have a baseline level of respect and protection. But from their side, they're coming out and being hostile towards other religions, and that's just a fact. There shouldn't be that protection for them. They then should leave, do what they want to do elsewhere. And this guy is just crazy.
And neither will be safe until all Australians are safe from racism and from religious intolerance.
Literally the biggest Karen. At least look appropriate when you're in these kind of situations. You look unkept.
Until we reckon with intolerance and discrimination based on any attributes.
What about the intolerance from the Muslims towards other religions and cultures?
And until we reckon with the brutality and the underlying violence of the colonisation of this.
This is an extremely tiring point of view. It's not like the West invented colonization. It was just the last and most predominant colonizations that happened before the modern era began, and we could really document things on a global basis. But colonization as far as a thing was always a thing. It's not something that was invented recently. It was abolished recently. That's kind of more of a recent thing. But as far as countries extending their borders through military force and taking other countries over by force, in that case, colonization or going there and extending, that's completely normal. That was always the case. Western society didn't create that. Western society was actually the one that came to end that kind of behavior. And if you look at how Western society did things, of course we can look back and hindsight's always 2020 and say, oh, something. But actually, we weren't really that intense, weren't that bad compared to how things were done in ancient times. Life is brutal. Life is not a fair thing. Now to come in modern times and to act like this is an atrocious thing that only the West did and we need to pay for it is it's diabolically stupid. It doesn't make any sense. There's nothing we need to pay for. Our culture is actually a phenomenal culture in the West, and we need to build on that culture, be proud of that culture, keep doing what we're doing, building wonderful societies that are high trust, safe, educated, and people can thrive. And this baloney that this guy is spewing is almost satanic. It's probably satanic. It makes no sense.
Of this continent based on the lie of terra nullius.